Go.
Hi, everyone. This is Amy Major again with Spirit Rescue Talk. I have an amazing guest on with me today. She's actually one of my close friends. And if any of you know me pretty well, she is the astrologer that I refer like everybody to. So I had to have her on. I am so blessed to have her as a friend. It is Karyn Chabot, Martino, and the new last name is new, which we'll talk about in a little bit. She is a Vedic astrologer, which I absolutely love, and I'll have her explain a little bit about the difference between regular astrology, Vedic astrology. She's also going to go over her charts and my chart. Gets a little personal about her star system that she has that she's going to explain a little bit more in detail. It's amazing. I have actually had readings from her several times with this particular chart that she uses. It's scary accurate how well this is, and that's why I keep going back to her over and over and over again. So I'm going to introduce Karyn Chabot. How you doing?
Hello. I'm so happy and honored to be here and to do this and share it with you and all your people. I'm good. I'm having a good day despite the crazy rain.
Yeah.
But it'll be beautiful tomorrow, I heard. So
you're lucky you're getting rain. I'm getting some snow up here in New Hampshire.
Oh yeah, because you're northern. Yeah,
Yeah.
we're Rhode Island. We did get hail though. That wasn't good. That was pretty intense. But tomorrow is going to be beautiful. So I'm just going to keep looking forward to that.
Well, up here in New England, every 10 minutes, the weather's a little different. So we have to wait and see by the hour to hour to hour. But yeah, I'm hoping for it as well. I really wanted you on for you to kind of discuss the work that you do, kind of show people the charts that you use, show the information that you use, and really kind of explain it a little bit more in detail, because I never really can. It's like, it's so mystical to me, but it's all mathematics and science, which is really one thing, of course, that I gravitate towards very much so. But can you tell everyone just a little bit about what you do and a little bit of a background on you?
Sure. So I did this probably 20 years ago with a friend, just taking it lightly and nothing serious, because I really didn't give cards, like a 4-letter word, right? I never gave it any credibility and associated it with, gypsies and, playing cards. And I just decided, you know what, I think she's onto something, because she kept coming up with these amazing predictions, and then she would see them on my clients or tell my clients, and they would tell me, and I trusted my clients. So I said, okay, let me learn this. So about 20 years ago, I picked up this book called Love Cards, and I taught myself how to read this whole system. And then I took some classes, webinars and all, and really started taking it more seriously. And then I decided, you know what, I'm going to go deeper with this and blend the Vedic astrology and all that I learned in the Vedic astrology, how to actually read a chart through the eyes of a Vedic astrologer, which they call Jyotish. There's a whole science behind astrology, and that really helped me understand this card system better, because it's based on astrology, but it's based on tropical astrology, which has lots of credibility, as well as the sidereal, which is the Vedic astrology that I specialize in. So the Vedic astrology is 23 kilometers different than the tropical. And the Vedic astrology is more based on astronomy. So it's more the hardcore planets that you can see. The outer planets, Pluto, Neptune, Uranus, they don't really give much credit to, but I do believe they are powerful. And some Vedic astrologers will say they don't use the outer planets, but then when you talk to them privately, they do. So anyways, that there's a lot of crossover and overlapping between the Vedic and the tropical versus sidereal, really. So I use them both in different ways. So the Vedic is a traditional astrology chart, but the tropical is based on this card system that I'm passionate about. And I know I must have done this in many past lives, because I just took to it. And in this card system, it involves the numerology, the math, which is really the language of nature is math. Everything is math. Every culture, any tradition, any philosophy, any religion, this math is always an underlying theme. And nobody really argues with math. 1 + 1 is 2, and there it is. So this is numerology, but it's based on the planets, the sacred symbols, which have archetypal meanings, which really brings this thing alive. And it is the kings, the queens, and the jacks. and their I guess their position and how I relate them into what we call exalted planets in Vedic astrology, exalted, or my teacher calls them exaggerated, because the royal family, the jacks, the queens, and the kings, are a little bit exaggerated. Basically, they kind of write their own book, and they're here to lead, and they kind of have an edge over the rest of the mere mortals, I'll call them. And I mean, you can't really call them mere mortal, because everybody's, made in the likeness of God and equal. But these royals have a way, they have a proclivity and an affinity and a real tendency. As a matter of fact, if they aren't raised well, if they don't have a lot of love and guidance, they end up in jail. It's fascinating.
Wow.
I know, because they have a holier than thou theme, where they really do have the ability to lead and write their own book and be at the top of the ladder. But in some cases, if they aren't driven into the more positive, more effective, for the greater good, then they can actually, be the one-eyed thieves, or the people that are at the top that sneak around. What are they called? The white collar thieves. Yeah. So anyways, they end up in trouble. And I know this is a fact, because I have a friend that does this system, and he ends up going from jail to jail for the last 20 years. And then I won't get into why, but he goes in there and just asks for birthdays. He's kind of a funny dude, just a weird guy. And I really like him, though. And he just will text me and say, I just came back from the jail, and I asked about 10 people what their cards were and what birthday they had, and they're all royals. And this has been going on 20 years. So it's really like 80% of royals in jail. So that's just something to think about. So yes, the archetypes really matter. I'm starting to get really good at identifying the kings and the jacks. It's tough to identify the queens yet, by the way, their characteristics. The suits actually come alive as well. The suits to the cards are the embodiment of the emotions and the personality and the attributes, and they're dynamic. They're not static, whereas the number of the card is static. Or if it's a queen, that's static, but it could express through any of the suits depending on the circumstances. So there's so many ways to actually track people, exact birthdays in the chart, to see who exactly is showing up and doing what. And you pull up at least 3 charts for one person, because you can read people through the people that love them. So they act like mirrors of the people. So you get what we call confluence, meaning if someone says, yes, I want to do this, there's a possibility it could be delusional, because everybody kind of has their own little, they're in their own little bubble sometimes, right? And it's not always going to express, but this is what they desire or dream. And maybe it's slightly delusional. And is it going to play out? Well, I'll know if I look at their husband or a spouse or someone that loves them. And if it's playing out in their chart using their frequency, the person that I'm giving the reading to will show up in the other person's chart. Then I can see, oh, okay, they're not delusional. There's confluence here. And then if I get another chart, especially animals, believe it or not, are so pure. If I get an animal chart up, if they know the animal's birthday, I can read the owner through the animal so easy, because there's nothing complicated about the animal. Like if they're going to move, that animal is going to show that this is really stressful, and I'll see exactly when the animal is moving.
Wow.
Yeah.
Can people find other things as far as, what their personalities are like, what their kind of their life purpose is through this as well?
Yes. So for example, your chart is the Ace of Clubs and the Queen of Clubs, and the Queen of Clubs and the King of Clubs are the most psychic cards, most intuitive, actually masters of the intuition and the cerebrum, incredibly intelligent. They digest things so quickly, they learn fast, and they can tend to be impatient in some cases, because they think, well, why doesn't the rest of the world learn as fast as me? Come on. And they have to be a little more patient with the rest of us, because not everybody learns as fast as, for example, the Queen of Clubs. She's probably the fastest learner, and you are like that. And they make great teachers consequently. and very academic, and they can also be very, very intuitive and psychic and just know. So why is that? Because there's a 6 of clubs in their life spread, and that 6 of clubs is the messenger of light, and is also one of the most psychic cards. They call the gatekeeper of the system. So within the king and the queen of clubs, there's a hidden 6 of clubs. So both the 6 of clubs, queen of clubs, and the king of clubs are the true psychics of the deck. Doesn't mean you can't be psychic. If you're not one of those cards. I found a vibrational language where there was one psychic I knew for about 20 years. She was brilliant, and she was a 10 of diamonds. And I always wondered, how could she be that psychic? My card system doesn't say 10 of diamonds is that psychic. Well, the 10 of diamonds has a primordial sound or a vibrational layer that is the queen of clubs. And that explained the whole thing, why she was so psychic. So she was operating at this primordial layer that I've just sort of discovered, and I'm still working with trying to figure it out. It's the sound layer of the cards. And now I get, where I was confused sometimes why some people seemed so psychic and they had this random card, and now I can trace it back. It always comes back to that king, queen, or 6 of clubs. Isn't that fascinating?
That's fascinating. But so on top of the suits, you also have the numbers. You said the numbers are more emotional, or they're more fixed?
They're fixed. They are static. As far as when you're reading for someone in someone else's chart, or as far as reading someone, you would never change the number of their card. If you were to try to identify them in someone's chart, they would be that number, unless they were so off and not feeling well, upside down in their life. They could show up as their karma card, or the Jack version of themselves. For example, I read a guy who was an actor on Ozark, and I was so blown away that he was coming for a reading, and I was, wow, I just put him up on sort of a pedestal, and I shouldn't have done that, because I read him wrong. So I said, your agent will give you a call in 3 days. I was so sure of it. I was reading him at his natal authentic self, and he was a 10 of clubs and born on that day. And I called him or texted him 2, 3, 4 days later. Did your agent call? No. And then I thought about it, and I thought about it. I gave it 24 hours. I'm like, I'm going to give him a free reading, because I think I read him at the wrong layer. So it's up to the reader to know where the client is and what state of consciousness. He, as an actor, has to be at his Jack self, because, the Jacks are the children of the deck. They always put on a mask to get with. They're clever, they're cunning, they want to get their way. So they'll do what they can to figure out how they can push the envelope and get their way. So they're playful, they're charming. And in order to get his part and win the auditions, he has to kind of live in his Jack layer. So I called him back in, and we read his chart at the Jack layer, and it was much more accurate. However, I was trying to teach him how he could vacillate between his authentic layer, the 10 of clubs, and his Jack of clubs, because I said, if you live down here the whole time in your life, and you're trying to meet some goal, you may not be able to manifest it as easily in the Jack self, because it is a lower octave. So I taught him how, because he said, I have to make $7,000 by July 1st. And I said, well, you won't be able to do that easily if you stay in your Jack self. And then he said, but I do want to get this motorcycle. And he named it this motorcycle. I forget the name of the motorcycle. He's got his eye on it. And I tracked it with the letter values. I got the number and the frequency of the motorcycle. It was a 4 of diamonds. So it was number 30. And I said, you will get that in your Jack self. So when it comes time for that, I'll say, come back to your Jack self. But when you want to make that $7,000 he said, for this insurance to come through by July 1st, then you will have to stay in a more elevated state. And how you do that is just after your birthday, for the cycle of 52 days, you have to live in gratitude. You have to not be a whiner, be accountable for everything, and just try to stay as positive as possible. And in that, you will lift out of the Jack self, and you'll meet your deadline. But then you can go right back down and have some fun in your Jack self and get that motorcycle. So there's so many ways to read people. You have to really understand where people are at if you're going to read them right.
Wow. Well, maybe we can give them a visual. Do you have a chart that you could bring up?
Yeah. You want me to pull your chart?
Why not?
Okay, let's do it.
Disclosure.
I can share my screen.
Yep, go ahead and share a screen. I believe I gave you permission to do that as well. We'll see how it goes. Not tech
Okay.
savvy. We'll figure it out.
Share screen. Hold on a second. Okay, here's yours. Here's your chart. I'm going to move this over, put it in the center. And you can see your inner self is the psychic. And that's your deepest self. You may not always share it with everybody. Maybe when you were younger, you kind of had held that in.
Oh yeah.
Yes. And then it ends up being oftentimes that inner self they call the planetary ruling card that often becomes very centered around career. And that other card at the top there is the sun card. It's your natal card. And this is the card that you shine out into the world, and the world sees you as the sun card, unless you let them in and show them your inner self. Or if you're older and then you've blossomed into your career, then it's just obvious. So this Ace of Clubs that you have is this part of you, this desire for knowledge, you craving information. These people are avid readers, amazing teachers, extremely interested in academics, and mind candy is kind of their thing, because the clubs represents the mind. So you've got two clubs, you're a double club girl. So you're very good with intellectualizing as well as using your intuition. So
Wow.
it's an amazing birthday that you have. And when you add those two cards together, you have a King of Diamonds, which gives you the ability to run your own ship and be the CEO of your own life and not have to work for anybody. It's a royal card, but it actually is a card signifying entrepreneurial endeavors and a lot of money. So that ace of there you are. It can happen. It's actually something you brought with you from another life. And I never know if it's a present life, parallel, future, or past. It's just another life that you brought that king with you in. And for whatever it is, you might have some unresolved things around it, or you might have done that easily in another life and you just brought it in to do it again. But whatever it is sort of residual from another time frame, another cycle of your soul. And that's when you add up the Ace of Clubs. 14 is the solar value. I might call it the cosmic value in my book because I like that better than solar. And then the Queen of Clubs is the cosmic value 25. And you add them together. And whenever you reach 52, over 52, you subtract 52 to get the true card. And that would be a number 39 for you. You don't even have to subtract 52 in your case. You just add 14, 25, there's a 39. And that is the King of Diamonds, where you wouldn't be happy working as a subordinate for anyone. And you wouldn't need to. It actually, you might end up upsetting your boss because you might know better than the boss.
Oh, let's not go there. Really not. You have a lot of stuff at the top too, like the sun, long range. Can you explain a little bit of what these do?
Yeah, so I'm in your yearly spread, and this is obviously the sun card. It says sun right here, but this long range, it's a neutral. It's not necessarily malefic or benefic or favorable or unfavorable. It's just a neutral theme. And that King of Clubs represents mastery of the mental faculties as well as teaching. It's the proverbial professor, the father card as well as authority figure. And the King of Clubs it can be similar to you, even though you're a female, you're still, it can still, I don't know what I'm saying, actually. I'm trying to help you understand that, and I'm losing words on that. So yeah, the Four of Diamonds, I think I explained it enough.
It's okay to say I'm aggressive. I totally know that I am.
Well, you have the king behind you. Yeah, my daughter has a king too. And oh, look out. It's hard for a man to marry a king woman. I'll tell you that. I have a lot of friends who are female kings, and it's hard for them to have found a soulmate or a husband, because men might be attracted because you're beautiful, but then they find out somehow they can't articulate it as such, like, oh, she's a king. They will just feel this incredible strength, and they end up steamrolling over people who are not in the royal family or are not strong enough inside to handle being with a king female. So yeah, you have a king in there, which I think is great because you can use it to your favor. When you want, you can pull that card. And so that King of Clubs is my favorite card. So I kind of get tripped up on that card. He's the nicest king. He's not dictatorial. He's loving, kind. He's a great father. He's generous. And I think he makes the best husband in the deck. It's my opinion. Now, and we go to, I mean, this could also indicate that you want to either open a school or go to school when I see that card. Long range. Now, the Pluto is the 4 of diamonds, and the Pluto is the planet that it transforms your life. So it's the most significant card of this whole chart.
Wow.
Yes. So what is going to transform her? And this is like a death-like experience or situation. So, and it can even be a person. So, or a relationship can fit into the Pluto, the composite that describes the two people. That frequency can fit in Pluto, which can often mean this is going to lead to a divorce potentially. And then the result position tells you how will they handle their transformation. What will they do? Will they make lemonade out of their lemons, or will there be a bitter ending? And you can see that in the result. So with the 4 of diamonds, Pluto, 4 of diamonds, it is vibrating at the primordial level at a 4 of hearts, which is marriage card.
Mm-hmm.
And the 4 of diamonds itself at the 3D layer, and I haven't really found a better way to describe this yet because I've just stumbled upon these 2 layers, and trying to discern them is really tricky. But that 3D layer, we'll stick with that terminology, is the bookkeeper, financial manager, stable in money. But when it goes to Pluto, like if that was in Jupiter, I'd say, oh, no problem. You're going to be stable with money this year. No problem. Jupiter's the bank. And it's very favorable planet. So it's the most favorable of all of them.
Wow.
And Venus is right there beside it. But since it's in an unfavorable, we call it, it's favorable if you look at the long run, you know, because the gifts come through the wound, right? The light comes through the wound. So the wound is, you know, right off the bat, you'd think, oh my God, if it's an adversity, help. But then down the road, it's your greatest blessing. So this 4 of diamonds is shaky right now. So in other words, if you've done tarot, which you do tarot, you turn it upside down, it's the reversal of the card. So financial stability, it's tricky this year. It'll be tricky. Not that it's not possible. It just means it's something you're going to really have to grapple with, and that you can do. And there's a Jack result, meaning there's a clever ending, how you figure out where to put this money and organize that and compartmentalize and all the juggling and how much to charge. And all of this is involved in the 4 of diamonds. And then the result tells me that Jack is going to give you this very creative, clever way of working with your challenge this year. So I think it's a good result.
Nice. Nice.
Yes. It also means some sort of sacrifice will have to be made. So it doesn't always mean clever. It has many other meanings, but it could also mean children, because Jacks are the children of the deck. It can mean several things. And it doesn't always just mean one thing too. When you're reading for somebody, it can mean 3 or 4 things all at once, completely separate. That's how these cards work.
Nice.
Yes. And then these double aces are because you are a twin. There's 2 twin cards, and the twin cards only displace each other. So you can see your other card here is the 2 of hearts. So the next year you would be your environment, which would be here, ENV, and displacement would be the 2 of hearts. And then the next year would be again the ace of clubs, 2 of hearts, ace of clubs, back and forth like that, because you're not sharing your property, I'll say, with any of the other cards because you're a twin to the 2. So that's why the aces show up there for you. But if it was mine, I'm not a twin, and I'm not even in the special family of 7. I'm just a regular 4 of hearts. I would be having different cards in environment and displacement. But these cards are the support. The environment supports you, and what drains you is here, the displacement. And then over here, the moon is that which nourishes you, that card that nourishes you. I can see if somebody is in there, a loved one, I can say, oh, well, he really nourishes you when you're with him. Or if it's a business. It could be that I tracked the name of a business or the name of a street address, and I'll say, well, that address really will support and nourish you. Or a relationship could be in there as well, the actual composite score between two people. The moon is very favorable. And then this lesson, cosmic lesson, isn't so favorable, and it has an affinity to Saturn right down here. So if I want more information about this 52-day Saturn cycle that I see you have, I go up to the lesson and see, well, what is the theme for that Saturn cycle? And it is about paying back debts. And this queen also has affinity for the Jupiter section, this moon, I should say. Moon and Jupiter talk and tell the story. And then this cosmic moon is quite like the regular moon, but up an octave, even sweeter. So what is it that nourishes you is the 6 of Spades, and that's stability. Sixes are almost, they have a direction that goes backwards. It's almost like a stick in the mud in some ways. And the only way they kind of move is that way, backwards, instead of 5s go forward. So with that, it's like stability nourishes you. The principles and ideas of keeping something stable, which is really what you kind of looking for this year, as well as this particular card is part of a portal. So you're in and out of the portal all the time since you're a channeler. And there's 2 portals. One's the blue hole, one's the black hole. And I just called them that for my own, just because I circled them one day in black ink 20 years ago, and I circled the other portal in blue ink. And that's how I call them that. But this is part of both the black and the blue hole. And you are in and out of there a lot. So that's, and the moon is here, the mind. So that is the meaning for cosmic moon. And then the cosmic result is really tied to this result. These two tell the story, and this is the 2 of Hearts, which is your karma card this particular year. So interesting, this year will end with a bang of some karma, which will be somewhat transformational for you and maybe have a pinch, because karma is never fun. So you might have some lessons, but it's nothing that you can't handle. It's just a lesson somewhere 52 days before your birthday that will come through for you. And I might be reading you even at the wrong layer now that you elevated an octave. So this might even play out softer if we read you at the octave higher that you went around Christmas.
Right. So we did have a pretty big transformation around Christmas time. And I remember coming to you. I usually come to you around my birthday time, and you were looking at my chart and you're like, oh, you're like, something really big's going to happen to you at Christmas time. It's like either someone's going to get sick, you're going to get sick. And then somewhere along the line, the death kind of came up as well. And then I was getting channels from spirit saying that I was going to die. And I'm like, okay, something really big is going on. And you started getting it in my chart as well. Now, granted, what had happened to me was a death and rebirth, because we kept asking spirit, well, am I gonna die, or is this a transformation death? And they said, absolutely transformation death. But you saw it in my chart months before. Spirit even started talking to me about it. They usually talked to me about 6 months before, but you saw it as well. So I thought you would show everybody a little bit of what we saw going on around Christmas in February.
I'm looking for that. So that was in 2022, right?
22, yep, Christmas time. And I would think it was my birth chart, if I can remember right.
It wasn't in, it was the Vedic.
Yeah.
Oh, I think I did look at both, actually, the Vedic chart and this chart, but how come I'm not seeing it right now? It's so bizarre.
It changed already.
Oh no, this was what I saw. Because this was February. So February 2023, but it started here because here's the blue hole. I mean, it's a black hole card. So it started here at Christmas, and I knew that something opened for you, and then the thick of it. So these are 52-day cycles, and there's 7 52-day cycles that equal 365 days, right? So this cycle started you in the black hole, a big completion of some sort. And then I thought, well, what portal is she going into? What's she going to discover? And then these are the death cards. And they don't always mean death. I've seen them actually be like death of a job, death of a relationship. They're cards of transformation, and they're actually the card of the deck that they call it the Ace of Spades, which is representing birth and death and all the mysteries and magic in between the birth and the death. So I thought, whoa, there's some major transformation. It might be a little dramatic for her too, because underneath it is the Eight of Hearts. Eight of Hearts is the card that causes drama. And, it can give rise to fear, but there's another whole card for fear, which is right here, Two of Clubs. So I'm like, oh, there's a fear card, there's a death card, there's the drama card. What's going on, Amy? And I was like, oh, I was afraid.
I know. We were all afraid. We're like, what is going to happen here? It wasn't what I expected it to be at all. And what had actually happened is, like, a few days after Christmas, because I'm waiting because I'm like, okay, I'm supposed to die around Christmas time, and I'm wrapping the presents early and I'm getting everything done. I'm like, make sure we have everything ready to go for the kids. And I'm like, maybe I'm really, really sick. Maybe, I get COVID, I die, I come back, because my guides kept saying it's a death and rebirth. And I'm like, and you're going to be completely changed when it happens. And they talk in general terms. They don't go full out and tell you everything that's going to happen, because anything that we do not hold the consciousness for, they can't explain to us. We have to sometimes live through the experience to gain the consciousness, so they can go back and tell us what just happened. So a few days after Christmas, I just like, oh, yay, nothing happened. I'm still alive, still here. And then I went into meditation. And then all of a sudden, the moment I shut my eyes, I heard, Amy, you're about to die. And I'm like, what? Now? And then whoosh, I was out of my body faster than any meditation I've ever been in. I didn't feel myself leave my body, but I was here and then I wasn't here. Next thing I know, I'm in this pure darkness. And in this darkness, I saw the birth of God. I saw the light, and I saw the light transform. And then in that light, I saw the expansion of the consciousness of God.
Wow.
And in that expansion, they started showing me how everything was created in the magnificent awareness of that light. The light was aware of itself and wanted to expand itself to understand more about itself. And I started swimming in the light, and they said, everything that you've been, everything that you do is a manifestation of this light, understanding itself through a different perspective. And it was like learning how I was created, how everything was created in that moment. And I'm like looking around like, oh, this is really cool. And all of a sudden, in that light, they started stripping my karma. They started stripping my ego. They started stripping everything down. And they said, you're going to drastically change to the point where you're going to be somebody new. They said, we are allowing you to come back to the earth. You don't have to come back. You're done. And I said, well, I kind of have kids. It would be kind of a nice thing to come back. And they said, we're allowing you to come back, but you're going to come back as your higher self. You are not going back as who you've been before. And so I remember kind of coming back down into my body. And the only thing that I knew, the only thing that I felt was my higher form. I was pure, magnified, higher consciousness.
Wow.
To the point where I was like in this elevated high for weeks. Like I felt nothing but love. I felt celebration. I felt joy at the highest degree I've ever experienced in my life. And I just remember, like, can I help you? Can I do this for you? Can I do that for you? And this is like everything. I was like somebody had like charged me with love consciousness so much I couldn't understand what anything outside this meant. And I started seeing the world through a different set of eyes. And from there, I'm like, am I going to live in this existence for the rest of my life? Because it's like, I felt no need for anything. I didn't need anything. I didn't want anything. I could care less about my own existence. The purification of my higher self was to look to serve everybody else. And I just was buzzing with high frequency energy. And I kept hearing my guide say, well, you are no longer going to be guided. You are now the embodiment of your higher form. And I said, well, what about my soul? They said, well, the soul will come back after we adjusted it a little bit. And over the course of a few weeks, around February time, is when they brought my soul back into my body. I can literally now adjust myself where I can move into my higher form or down lower into my soul consciousness. And I could shift in between the two at any given time. And I remember I had emailed you or texted you, and I'm like, Karyn, something really strange is happening. And you saw this death and rebirth happening for me around this time. And that's when you started pulling my chart again. And you're like, well, you're now elevated. So can you explain to everybody what that means about being elevated in my chart?
Yes. So there's an opportunity for growth every day and every moment, and it never ends. So you can, after learning to be accountable for everything, realizing that you're really just spirit occupying a physical body, and you come to realize, self-realization, who you really are, and that the most important things in life are love, and you need to make lemonade out of lemons instead of be bitter. So you, in that case, if you truly are a seeker of the truth and you really want to be self-realized and become the most amazing person you can be, then you can go up your first octave. And then it's always 8 away, because Pluto, it vibrates to the number 8. And 8 is the death card. And China loves 8. Look, they wouldn't even run the Olympics until it was like 808 on, August 8. Everything was 8s. They know the power of 8s, and they literally have their country is born on an 8 of diamonds. So they did that on purpose. They incorporated and waited for that day. So they're no dummies. And that 8 is where you go when you elevate, and then you can go another 8. So we count from where the natal card or the sun card is, and then we count 8. So like this is how I look at the cards. Can you see the background? All these cards are in a kind of chaotic random order, nothing coherent about this. But if you find I'm not going to show you the details, but if you find your card, like just for example, there's yours right there. You can't see it because the camera, if I go up with the camera, maybe there's your ace of clubs. If I count 8 away, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, drop down 6, 7, 8, bam, we're on the 5 of spades. So you ended up 8 away because you walked through the fire of purification, and you ended up as 5 of spades because your birthday was, 5/31, and you're ace of clubs. So anybody born on another birthday, like for me, 8 of diamonds, 8 away from my 4 of hearts. So everybody gets to elevate to a different card, and then you can keep going. I do have a shaman friend who's up 3 octaves, and she's early 70s, late 60s maybe. She's brilliant, and she's highly gifted and skilled. She's all about service, and that is the fastest way to enlightenment, is through service. Right. So these people that come to me that have elevated, and I usually know that their gig is all about service, and I can spot them, and that's something you need to be trained to do. To be a good reader of this system, you kind of need to know what state of consciousness you're reading at. Do you want to read Amy at her ace of clubs? Well, there'll be some accuracy. Or do you want to read her at her 5 of spades, which is over here? I think I put you, here's the 5 of spades. So I designated the sun for you. It's a 5 of spades. And I have a feeling you're going to go up another octave really quickly. And some people never go up an octave at all. Some people actually go down. There's one client I had, she was very wealthy, but she was a bit of a whiner, and she would just come in with a lower lip every time, once a week with that. And then I'd be, oh boy, here we go. And she had the shakes, and she was an alcoholic. Well, that's a depressant. So it brought her down to the queen version of herself, where she was a 2 of diamonds, and that would have been her authentic natal self. But that whining and, she was always depressed about something. There was never anything she was grateful for. And I mean, I cared about her a lot, and I wanted to make her happy the best I could, but I had to learn where to read her so I could be of service. And through her, I have her to thank, I discovered that I was getting not so much accuracy by reading her at her natal self. And then I would come down to the queen and why is it so accurate here? And then I put two and two together. I realized she just needs to be read at the queen until she can kick the alcoholism. So with you, there is no depressant, there's no drugs, no alcoholism. You are at your natal self for a good long time. And then you had this experience where I thought literally you were going to die when I was talking to you. And I had to struggle to deliver my message because I don't want to tell people they're going to die.
No,
Like,
no.
it looks like I'd never seen anything so ominous. And
You had mentioned it. My spirit had mentioned, oh, you're getting ready to die. I'm like, great.
And look at these double fives you had. So,
Yeah.
you know, in your, oh, wait a minute, that's not it. Here. Yeah. So here is the death card and the 7 of diamonds, which is another twin card, which is also your karma card, by the way, because the two twins are karma to each other. So the 7 of diamonds is twin to the 9 of hearts, and your ace of clubs is twin to the 2 of hearts, and that never changes. So a twin card here, meaning your karma card, meaning there's karma here. It's going to be pinchy. It's going to be not sit back on the couch and eat bonbons. It's definitely something you're going to have to pay attention to. So that coming back to your 5 of spades. Now I'm looking at you. We're in March, right? So that started in February, and your cycle goes 52 days, like all of us, ends on April 9th. But these 5s tell me you're still going through massive amount of change because 5s represent the wind.
Right.
So they're not done with you.
No.
Mm-mm.
And the 5 of clubs or spades, 5 of spades, does that represent a different identity now? Or does that just mean I've elevated?
It means you have elevated, but then the attributes of this card will come through, which the most profound attribute of this card is that it offers a chance for the people you're in service to, as well as yourself, an opportunity to rewrite their destiny. So they don't have to be locked into one momentum tunnel. They can all of a sudden see their options. So that's where you come in as the psychic and outline, okay, you can go this way or this way or this way. And these are your options. There's always free will. There's always more than one path up the mountain when you're reading for people. So for you, they'll come to you in hopes to change and transform. So you might be considered a trailblazer or, bringer of light for those people who are looking to transform to the same degree that you've transformed. Does that make sense?
Yep, that makes sense. I've already started moving in that direction for sure. But you are correct. They're not done with me just yet.
No, not with the double 5s. I had those double 5s in Venus one year, and that's the year I went through entire menopause. So yeah, my whole body upside down, but that's in Uranus governing the occult and metaphysics, things that are unexpected actually. So it's an unexpected surprise planet. So it's hard to pinpoint exactly what it will be, but I can say the 5 of diamonds is the card of insight. So you're about to be shown something, if you haven't already, that's really insightful, that maybe the majority of people don't know about, that you're here to share with people for that, whatever it is that you find the insight. I don't know what that is. Maybe it's alien spaceships are coming and right? That's an insight. So the 5 of clubs is the card of, it's definitely wind and it moves people, but it is also cerebral. So the way you think, the way you intellectualize will be very different with these double 5s. And then you can get more information too if you add them up, because each of them have a cosmic value. That one's the 18 and the 5 of diamonds 31. And then you add them and that gives you some more information about what the changes are. I can do that if you want.
Sure.
Yeah. Okay, so we do 31 plus 18. Thank God for my trusty calculator, because the math thing
All
is
mathematics, guys. It all comes down to science.
It does. It takes you to a 49, which is that king of diamonds. Interesting. So this is what we call the subliminal card, the kind of soft card in the shadows. It's the seed layer behind the double 5s. So it's the king of diamonds, which is what you brought in, the oversoul of you, the other life, I don't know, forward, back, parallel. It's something else that was in a different realm that you embodied. And you're stepping into it more now. I don't know what that is exactly. The King of Diamonds isn't always just the big money man or the CEO and entrepreneur. They're often leaders of countries, but the King of Diamonds has many other meanings. So for you, it might not be the literal meaning of the card. It might mean that what's that?
The higher mind.
Yeah. Yeah, it might just mean that you're bringing in something that is from another realm, another lifetime, simply because you embody that card within you. It's not like an outside card, because when you add your ace of clubs and your queen of clubs, you have that layer. It's yours. It's a King of Diamonds. So
bringing more of myself.
Yes.
Out.
Yeah. Yes. I mean, they might be picking and choosing. I think my gut feeling is they're going to take pieces of the other lifetime that where you were a guru and maybe even a renunciate or wise sage, or who knows what you were. I don't know. I'm guessing you were that, because we keep repeating very close lifetimes, very similar patterns. So this is something that they really liked, and it's going to be useful for the greater good in this lifetime. They might be pulling that through. Do you have any idea what that might be?
No clue.
I don't know either, but it's an attribute that's coming through in a bigger way that maybe you were taught in this lifetime, by parents. It hasn't come into full form, because it's in your layers, but it's about to come front and center. It has to do with the psychic realms, because King of Diamonds is sitting 52 days in Neptune, which governs the oceans and the psychic realms, and things that are a little bit smoke and mirrors, things on the other side like that.
Right. Yeah, the only thing I've heard so far is from the spirit world is we're still figuring it out. We're waiting to see what we want to do with you. And you're like sitting there going, oh boy.
You're just gonna have to trust them.
I know. It's like, don't sweat it, Amy. It's okay. But it feels good, feels right, and whatever it is, I don't think it's going to be too far off from what I'm already doing. It just might be in an elevated form of some way. So
yeah, I wouldn't be afraid of it at all. It looks kind of fun, actually. If you think of it that way, you're going on an adventure.
Yay.
Fives are adventures. If you were born a five, you just have roller skates on your feet. You just want to keep going, exploring, and looking for the next adventure. And variety is the spice of life. These are people who are born with fives. But
I have a 5 life path number.
Oh, well, that might also contribute to your, desire to have adventure. If I believe that does play into it. I have a 5 life, you and I both. So looking at the primordial 5, I'll maybe get some more information about what these changes are. It's a 3 of clubs. Okay, so the 5 of clubs has a primordial card that is the 3 of clubs. That has to do with your writing. So I bet they're wanting to put some wind on you, change you up a little, pieces of souls from other lokas, pulling those in and, refining you, editing you, and helping you so that you can, whatever it is you're going to learn, put this in a book. Because 3 of clubs is a book, not always, but it is the card of the writer, but it's not always a book. Sometimes it's like your husband is a 3 of clubs. It could just be embodying your husband, or changes around husband and the way you're relating to one another. Now let's look at the 5 of diamonds and see it's coming to the Queen of Diamonds, which is philanthropy and service and charity. So that's kind of in line with, and the Queen of Diamonds is below here as well. So that's in line with the card of insight. So you would get insight, and you'll use the insight for philanthropy, for service. Of course, I hope you get paid, and you will with the King of Diamonds and Neptune. It usually means money, so don't stress too much about money. So I think you'll be okay. April 9th, King of Diamonds and Neptune is a good money card.
Yay!
Yeah.
Nice to pay the bills.
Yeah, it helps.
For sure. I think this has been a wonderful illustration for people to kind of see how you would be able to do their cards for them, or we don't even like read cards, more of a spread of information for them to see the dynamics of their life and what they came to do, all the things that are coming into fruition, how they're evolving, and also to give them a little bit of a foresight as far as, look, level up, get better, be the higher mind, and better things will occur for you. It gives people a little bit more incentive, I believe.
I do too. I love that this system can let you elevate, and you're not just given a card and then that's it. We are such powerful creatures that we're unlimited, we're unbounded. We could just keep going if we want to. It's all states of consciousness. That's how this system works, is finding the state of consciousness of your client and then reading it. And in some cases, I've had to give really depressing, I've seen things where it's really hard to sugarcoat. And then I say, well, you know what, if you wanted to elevate, if you really step into gratitude, then this is the other momentum tunnel. And I go up an octave. Exactly. And then they're like, oh, I like that much better. I'm like, well, it's up to you. You can, it's up to you to lift up. I can bring the horse to water, but you'll have to drink it. You know what I'm saying? And not everybody can, because it's not easy to go up an octave. Like what you had to go through. It's like a death.
I had to die.
You did. You had to die.
Yeah. And definitely huge transformation that's occurred from that. And don't feel like my old self anymore, which is probably a good thing now that I've been able to step outside myself and see my karma and my ego and all the past life wounds. But my guides were like, yeah, no, you're kind of done with it now. We can like skedaddle. Let's get rid of that now. Like, really? They're like, sure. And oh, by the way, we're not your guides anymore.
Oh, wow.
You are now a guide. And I'm like, oh, but I can handle it now. Before this transformation, I would have been a little bit hesitant for it, but bringing through more of the higher mind, there is no fear. There's just contentment. There's peace. There's serenity in the frequency of knowing that everything's taken care of.
God, that is the best. That's what we all strive for, is that peace, the inner peace. And yeah, if you can have that, then you've gone up an octave at least. Not everybody has that inner peace, and that's a sign that you have gone up. And I can't dub anyone in, by the way. I can't watch someone walk through the door and immediately know where they're at. It's usually, if I have a question about it, sometimes I just have a really good intuition on it, because I'm psychic on some level as well. But I sometimes, like with that guy on Ozark, I made a mistake. And like with that other girl, the Two of Diamonds, is reading her at her queen self to get more accuracy. It's tricky to know someone's level of consciousness. The way to do it is, and if you're new at this and you're not sure you can figure out what your client's consciousness is to look at how their beloveds are perceiving them. So I knew I went up an octave when I was 51, only because I was dating a guy who for 3 years, and he cheated on me a lot. And you'd think, why would I stay with him? But it was a karmic relationship. It was very gluey, and I'm glad I'm done with that. But in that last year, I had moved out, because we lived together, and I moved out to Catherine Street, which comes to 8 of Diamonds when you add up the letters, because every letter has a value. So Catherine Street was 8 of Diamonds, but I didn't think about this at the time. All in hindsight, it was 2020. And then I said to him in April, I said, you're going to be breaking up with someone this fall who's an 8 of Diamonds. You're going to have a broken heart. Some 8 of Diamonds, Chickalina. I don't know if you're doing it or if she's doing it, but there's a breakup. And so I already know if there's a breakup, that means you're cheating on me again. And he looks at me like I was crazy. And he's like, I don't know anybody that I'm going to break up with. And I'm like, well, I know what I'm talking about, because, these cards aren't wrong, and they really aren't. But guess who the 8 of Diamonds was? It was me. And I had moved into Catherine Street as sort of my precursor. It's my omen that started my 8 of Diamonds journey. And then I realized, wow, it was through his chart that there was an 8 of Diamonds. I didn't go looking for it. And I wasn't even thinking about an elevation at all. But in the elevation, when you think about it, the reason I elevated was because I found enough self-worth to leave a man who cheated on me.
Right.
In that, I went up.
No. That's amazing.
Yeah.
And I think so many people can learn something from this as well. Why don't we go back to regular screen and we can share a little bit about how people can connect to you and find their way to you, because I know there's going to be so many people that are going to want to come and say, gimme. give me my chart, give me my information. When I first met you, I know you had come to me a while back to talk about rescue mediumship, all the different things that was happening, and then you started showing me um, your work, and I was like fascinated. I was like, oh, this is the most amazing thing. I'm like, I have to have you on my show when I have my show, and here you are, and I'm so thrilled to have this and have the experience with you here. So how can people reach out if they need to connect to you?
You can go to my website. It's my name, Karyn Chabot. It's my maiden name. I was married last year, but I'm just sticking with my website, Karyn Chabot, and it's KaryncChabot.com. And on there, you can go to the services, the nav bar, and drop down, and there's an online booking scheduler. You can just find your own slot, and you can book a star code reading, because these are all star codes. This is a language of codes. We decode and crack the code and figure out what's going on in your world.
Awesome.
Okay, I'm going to teach this after my book is published.
Wow, that's awesome. And I know it's like we have this weird screen going on, but everybody, please reach out to Karyn. I know you're not going to be upset at all with anything. She just explains things in such detail, more detail than your mind could probably handle, but it's fascinating and it's truly amazing. So please reach out to her. And again, thank you for reaching out to us, watching the show. Lots more interviews to come. So I'll see you soon.